I'm Renee.
And I'm Rick, and we went to Everest Basecamp in Nepal.
So to fly from Australia, we had to fly to Malaysia first, and we had quite a long layover in Malaysia where I fell asleep in the airport. And then once we got to Nepal, we had a night stay before we flew out on this dodgy little aeroplane, which was the most horrible flight I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, so basically we flew into Kathmandu, and from Kathmandu we spoke to our guide before we flew up to a little place called Lukla. We were first booked on the flight to get out, and our plane took off. We thought, great, we're away. We're flying through the air. Hostess comes down about halfway through and says, oh sorry, the clouds have come through, we're gonna have to turn back.
When the hostess came to the hostess was called twice before she actually got up to go to the cockpit and then announced to everybody that we were going to land. Then as soon as she'd gone back to her seat, it's like the pilots had just let go of the steering. And and to me, it was only a small plane, so I think it only held about 20 passengers max. So there's one seat on either side. Well, my first experience, we get in our seats and I'm holding my hand luggage because there's no storage above, your head height. So I've gone to sit in my seat with my bag, and in leaning on the seat in front of me, the front seat collapsed. I'm like, okay. And the seals on the inside of the windows were cracking and falling out. There was bad weld jobs on the wings and the rear bit. I don't know what that's called. So immediately before the plane had even taken off, I was petrified. So I didn't really engage in a lot the whole flight. Everyone was looking around, they're all excited, and I'm just holding on to my stuff. She walks up the front, and they're like, okay, we've got to turn around. We've turned around, and like I said, the pilots had let go of the steering, and the plane just started to nosedive. And I'm like, that's it, I'm gonna die.
Way I remember it was, we're going along and there was a little pocket in the wind, and the plane went like that.
So not the case. So not the case.
Pick it somewhere between those two.
So once I'd got off the flight, I had no desire to want to get back on. I didn't care how I got to start the trip. I didn't want to get on another plane.
The next day we went to the airport and we piled onto the helicopter. We were in the first group because they can take 6. There was 12 in our group, and we flew up that way. So we didn't actually experience the landing at Lukla, but we experienced the departure.
I was happy about that.
Renee still didn't really like the helicopter flight up. I thought it was fantastic.
No.
I loved it.
I think those plane flights have just tainted my flight travel forever. I think I need to be sedated next time I fly, just to get out of the country.
So we started our hike.
Right.
We're here with Nori.
Yeah.
That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good. Good looking.
And we've been walking for about 1.5 hours?
Less than
Less than?
1.5 hour.
And we're maybe halfway, a bit more?
Yeah, it's halfway.
Halfway. Yeah. We flew in today on the chopper. Pretty cool. And where are we now?
Now it's a place called Ghat.
Card.
Ghat, yeah.
Guard with a G.
Yeah, Ghat.
And we're just taking it easy.
From here to our campsite is 1 hour.
About 1 hour, okay. Fantastic.
The scenery was breathtaking. I loved every minute of it. I don't know, I think the Himalayas, first time being to the Himalayas, is somewhere that I definitely want to go back to. It's untouched, and it's still as much money from Westerners are going over there. it's just such an amazing place to be. Everywhere you look, there's another mountain with snow on it, or there's another valley, or there's, we're just trekking through different villages, meeting the kids along the way.
The scenery changes a fair bit from the start to the finish, as you'd expect, through going through the different elevations that you do. At the bottom, you've actually got very lush, green, almost parts feel sort of tropical rainforesty with the amount of green growth and the rivers which run through there. And as you progress further up, you hike above the tree line, so things get very scarce. But then it's almost this open, still, it's not so barren, but just turns into just mountains which are just...
Mountains with rocks.
Just a beautiful scene on their own. This is it, we're here. We are at the top of Namche Bazaar at the moment, and in the background, somewhere there, hard to tell on the camera, is Everest. So it's a pretty awesome day this morning, bit of a mood lift, and I think further on we'll get different, maybe possibly better views of Everest. So once we've taken the pictures we like for the moment, then where are we going, Renee?
Oh, we're going up to the world record holding hotel, the highest hotel in the world. It's on the top of that mountain.
And
we're going up
that's our little goat trail over there. I think we'll get some pretty fantastic views from up this place as well, won't we?
I think so. I think we're going to see more of Everest.
We are halfway on our day trip today from Namche Bazaar. I don't know where we're actually going to. I don't know what the next place is, but Dembouge, something like that. And
might have made that up.
no one will know. Do a video on the run. We've headed off from Dembouge, where we stayed last night. We're about, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes away from our lunch stop. The going's pretty hard. I'm making good progress on the flats, and I'm sort of ahead of the pack at the moment, just because I've got a sort of a fast rhythm today. But as soon as you hit the uphill parts, man, you're out of breath quick. You're out of breath quick even on the flat parts. On our second acclimatization day, which are a must on the way so that your body adapts to the elevation changes you're going through, that was by far the best day. And we had a beautiful mountain which is called Amadablam, and at the bottom of that was basically the glaciers off that mountain feeding this lake or lagoon at the bottom, and it's just that crystal clear, mint blue water, which just looks fantastic. So it's our second acclimatization day. We are now at approximately 4,800 meters above sea level.
Dembouge.
And we're up near the lakes. There's a couple of lakes up here, and they're
They're glacier lakes.
pretty amazing. Super blue color. weather's been pretty good. We got a little bit of wind at the moment. Slight bit of cloud cover, but apart from that, it's pretty fantastic up here, isn't it? We're both feeling pretty good, I think.
Oh no, I actually felt like I was going to vomit just before.
Correction. I feel pretty good. Renee feels like she was not going to be well a second ago. We're stopping for some snacks. And we'll probably take a few more photos and, I don't know, head on back down for lunch soon. That actually, the food itself, it does...
It wears on you because you're eating 3 meals a day of the same bland food. Each station you got to had the same things on the menu but cooked it slightly different. So you're expecting, like, the first tea houses are the best equipped because they're the closest from the airport. They're not as far to walk in the supplies. So the further away you got, the lesser the supplies. So the lesser quality of the food that you got.
And one of the other things to mention too is that the higher up you go, one of the side effects of altitude, which we didn't know until we did the trip, is you actually start to lose your appetite the further you go up. And it's not because you're not hungry, and it's not because you don't need food, it's because the altitude just makes you not feel hungry, just don't want to eat. And so struggling with food, which you've already been eating for 6 days the same stuff, then having on top of that not actually feeling that hungry because of the altitude, it really makes it hard. And that's when people start to really struggle. They get tired, and I think that also probably then leads to headaches and that sort of thing, which you're more prone to get because of the altitude once again. So it is important to keep your food up. I think we supplemented ours well. We took snacks. We took a really big bag of mixed nuts, trail mix, and another big bag of M&Ms and jelly beans.
There was lots of people traveling. I was surprised because we were delayed the first day that we were meant to fly out. We were then trekking with other trekking companies as well as ones from Intrepid. So each night that we stopped, which is called a tea house, where you stay, you more or less sleep on a pine box with a mattress. It's about that thick, and that's your bed, and you've got a blow up pillow that you take along with you. You barely sleep at night, but then you'd see the same people on the treks throughout every day. We'd be passing the same groups and seeing a lot of familiar faces, but I was really surprised at the quantity of trekkers that were actually up there. You think that Everest, it's like a once in a lifetime opportunity, which it is, but so many people are indulging in the same experience. I was surprised.
You're passing people continuously, and it's the track up is the only way that the locals get the produce up and back, and so yes, you get the yaks, there's donkeys, occasional horse, but mostly it's trains of yaks. You just get a big train of yak, and they've all got bells on them so you can hear them coming, and in the beginning on the briefing, that is one of the things they say, don't get in a yak's way, basically. We won't mention any names, but someone called H, he had the first run in. We'd had the lowdown of stay to the safe side of the hill when the yaks come, and the first time we met the yaks was on a very narrow part where the path actually stepped and snaked up, like a sort of like a S bend in it, and
windy and narrow. And Rick and I had actually run down the rocks.
We got to
beat the yaks.
Yeah, we got to a safe position, and then so Renee's actually put the camera out taking photos of the yaks, and the other half of the team's up there, and they're mostly safe except for H, and he's stood sort of on the safe side of the mountain, but also on the edge of where the actual path is cutting back in, so he wasn't really safe. And yak's coming up, and he's sort of leaning back like this. He's got the cliff over there, he's got the safe side here, and he's got the yak there.
We had the most amazing weather when we started. I think for the trip that I had no expectations of what the weather was going to be like, but when we landed, We had beautiful sunny days, like sometimes a little bit of cloud, so perfect for pictures. So I had a camera on me all the time and was snapping away at anything, really. Didn't matter what it was. But just you want to consume and be able to remember it also. Taking pictures is the best way. But the weather was just amazing. Freezing at night time.
And then the weather changed. We got so close to the top, and on our last day, we're climbing. Like Renee said, the weather was beautiful, fantastic. Say we did hike for 8 days, 7 days of magic. And then the last day, we got up there.
No, we passed another trekking group.
And they said, the weather's coming in. And it was a bit cloudy. And we're like, oh, okay, cool.
It was these Yankees. These Yankees like, you need to go and tell your guide to turn around because there's the biggest storm coming. I'm like, yeah, whatever. We're not turning around.
Yeah, they kind of blow.
They're exaggerating this.
Yes.
Totally. So you're going to get blizzards.
Anyway, so this is the day that we walk into Basecamp. So we're just like, oh yeah, well we're this close now. So our guides did say not to keep going. So on we go, and it was about lunchtime where we're getting pretty close now, and it's starting to snow. And we're like, whoa, this is pretty weird. Like, don't think we're meant to get snow. It's
I'm like, yay, it's snowing.
Yeah, it's the end of the wet season. We weren't really meant to get any of this sort of stuff. We thought, oh, a little bit of snow, that's cool. Anyway, so we keep going on and take some photos, and we get to the Everest Basecamp sign which says Everest BC this way, where everyone's taking photos going, yeah, sweet, we're almost there. And so as we go further in, it's really starting to close in around us. It's going really white. We got big flakes coming down. It wasn't windy, but it was definitely closing in on us. This morning's the morning of our final assault towards Basecamp. I think everyone's feeling the altitude in some way. It's a bit overcast this morning, and it probably won't clear, so we won't see clear skies of the camp.
Go to Basecamp. See random nutters along the way.
So we're just getting through this sort of old riverbed, I guess, almost like a boulder field. I was lucky enough to manage to jam in some decent breakfast, so hopefully that'll keep me going. A few others are really struggling with the food, just feeling nauseous and the like, but everyone's pumped to get there. So we've just been warned by a passing group that there's a storm moving up, bad weather on the way, so could make for our next portion of the hike pretty interesting, or pretty shit, whichever way you want to think of it. Basecamp really isn't that much, there's not much there. The guide actually warned us a couple of days out and said, look, when we get to Basecamp, don't be disappointed because it's more of a point of destination as opposed to a beautiful magical thing. You go, oh, Basecamp. It's not like that. It's just more rocks, and you've got to just kind of over the glacier, which isn't an ice glacier. It's just rocks, and there's ice underneath you somewhere. And
I was totally talked out.
all right, girlfriend, we're here. We made it. Is there anything you have to say?
We can't see the mountain.
I know we get a little snowed out.
There we are getting snowed
You
out.
commented on someone doing their snow dance last night.
Yeah, I did. We did their snow dance.
Yeah.
And I had a casualty with my poles. Ooh, there's snow getting everywhere.
I know, it's getting all the camera too. But we're here.
We are here. We need to go get a photo. It's
This is it.
too crowded.
Yeah. So this is it. We made it to Basecamp. We're not in the high season, so there's only a couple of tents here, maybe only 2 or 3, and that's sort of the extent of Basecamp at the moment. But in the high season, this whole area, all the dark space you can see, has got tents all over it.
have had an injury.
Oh, you bent the tip.
Yeah, we did do it.
We got a Mars bar.
Celebratory Mars bar.
Half a Mars bar each.
Can't take those off there.
So this morning we were meant to head to Acclimatization. Yesterday we hiked to Basecamp and it had started snowing. And it hasn't stopped snowing all night.
The way back was amazing. Like, we went to bed, you know, knowing that it was snowing outside, and then the next morning we'd actually planned to, had it have not been snowing, we were planning to reach our highest elevation and see Everest in its, you know, closest form for what we were going to see.
Yeah.
But we didn't get a chance to do that because it had been absolutely crazy snowing all night, and it was
Hadn't
still a whiteout.
stopped for the morning.
Still a whiteout in the morning, so our trek got cancelled, and then from then it was like, how are we going to get out? Who's going to make the path? And so I guess as we walked out, we were all completely covered because it was freezing. Not all of the members of our group were prepared, that we found out. So some people didn't have snow gloves, they only had polar fleece gloves which were wet within 5 minutes. And then from there it was the yaks. The yaks led the way. The yaks were sent off ahead of everybody else and they cut the path.
Winter wonderland all around us, and only time will tell to see how far this goes down. I think we'll be stuck in it for most of today. Clouds still pretty thick above us. Not really showing a lot of signs of easing up quickly, but hopefully later today we'll start to see some patches of blue sky. So we're really in the soup now. The snow's starting to melt, mainly on the track we're walking, and it's turning into slushy stream mud, and there's pretty much no way to avoid it because we kind of walk along the side of the cliff. So it looks like this.
Anyway, the next morning when we woke up, it was past your knees deep. It was really deep and it wasn't stopping. It was completely heavy rain, still snow coming in still, and so that's what we had to deal with on the way out. And it wasn't just snow on the ground. It was still snowing. The visibility was next to zero. Everything was a complete whiteout. The guides weren't prepared. They didn't have wet weather gear. The porters didn't have wet weather gear. You know, guys are walking around in sandals and stuff. We got told as a must, you got to wear sunglasses so that you don't end up with snow blindness. And then, like Renee said, yaks got sent out, cut a track, and then you just followed it. And people were slip sliding everywhere. It was it was like the steep downhill parts were, well, I actually kind of thought they were fun and quite hilarious. I mean, the people who were really struggling were probably not enjoying it much at all.
I think you and I were one of the most, like, the sure-footed people there.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people sliding on their bums.
Yeah. On our trek, there was a lady from India who'd sort of done the actual trek too fast with no acclimatization days, and we met her a couple of times, and funnily enough,
On the way back,
we met her when we were hiking back down, and she was stuck and she didn't know what to do, and she's asking us for help. And really, she should have listened to her guide. She kind of gave us this spiel, and we're like, well, kind of thinking you should have. And her guide was saying, look, you can't keep going, you're getting too sick. Turns out, we just end up trekking on and left her to make the call herself. And then the extra couple of days, say it was 3 days before we got back to Kathmandu, that next day in Kathmandu, I happened to bump into her again. And I said, how'd you get back? And she said, after you guys left, the next day I got a helicopter back and they put me in hospital for 2 days. And so...
Because she had water on her lungs.
Yeah, it's serious. And so, yeah, you've got to listen to your guides.
Listen to your guide, but listen to your body. Don't push yourself.
That's what they say. Anytime you feel weird or otherwise, let your guide know and then he can tell you what to do.
Keep going.
No! Got all camera shy. So we're on the final leg, the last, I don't know, hour, 45 minutes.
How far?
Shouldn't be that far.
How far?
We are almost there, huh?
Almost there.
See that?
Namaste.
Almost there. Namaste. Woo!
Well, we actually started off pretty prepared. We had most of our gear bought and sussed in Australia. It turns out, though, what we found out when we got there is it is very easy and very cheap and reasonably good quality to get your stuff sourced in Kathmandu.
We were well prepared before we actually left Kathmandu.
But if you fly there and you don't have gear and you've spoken to someone who knows what it's like, you seriously just buy your gear there. Travel light, go there. If you got a couple of days up your sleeve, that's heaps. You go to the local area, which is called Tamil, and there's just shops everywhere. Bargain away, set yourself up.
But fitness-wise, if you're not prepared before you go...
Yeah, well, there's the two
That's
sides to
starts.
it, isn't it? Yeah, so
That's where it starts.
there's the gear and then there's the training side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Things to really consider are possibly the shoes.
Definitely.
That's probably
Definitely.
of all the other stuff you can buy over there. Shoes are probably, if you really want to make sure you got your shoes, because you want to wear your shoes in before you go, so they're comfortable. You're not going to get blisters because you're in them 8, 9, 10 hours a day just walking, and you can really get sore feet, and you could really stuff your trip up with if you had a fresh pair of shoes, I guess. So
Yeah.
I'd say shoes, and then layers.
Yes.
It's hot during the day, but you want to have your layers if you get some
Nighttime.
bad weather, or for nighttime, it gets very cold at night.
To me, sunscreen. Yeah, sunscreen was another essential. As hot as it was, but cool enough through the day. There was one time through the trip where one of the trekkers in our group got quite sunburnt and didn't realise.
Didn't he ever? He got burnt enough to get blisters, so it's pretty potent over there.
Highly
Definitely.
recommend
Yeah.
it. Highly recommend it. If the flights weren't so bad, I would go back and do a different trek in another spot. but I really don't think I could handle that flight again ever.
Oh, I would happily go back, and I would go to somewhere different since I've done that now. But I know how beautiful the area is. Maybe do the Gokyo Lakes circuit or something like that. That's I've heard is fantastic, and the
Which is the picture behind us.
Yeah, and the Annapurna region is also might be part of that area. I think sounds like a great location to go see.